Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. She will be back later today, but we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to talk about Wizards of the Coast. We're going to talk about Hasbro. And we're going to talk about a huge problem they've got. The Dungeons & Dragons movie has fallen off a cliff. Yeah, nobody cares. It's only, what, 2-3 weeks after it came out, and literally nobody cares about this movie. They're trying to do some damage control for it. We've got an article out here on Looper talking about why fantasy movies are in a box office rut. Now, this is a far cry from just a couple of weeks ago when everyone was like, look, D&D slayed John Wick, and actually that lasted for a week, and then John Wick overtook it the following week, and now it's like the 5th or 6th place movie. And it looks like it's going to make about as much money as Shazam 2, right? Except it cost a lot more. But they're moving ahead with a series on Paramount, a D&D series. I don't know if it's going to be, based on the same characters or not, but they're going to do it. They're going to give it another go. And maybe that's where D&D actually belongs, because there are so many streaming shows. But I just think it's really interesting when you go out and you look for D&D news. It's almost all negative now. It is. It's almost all negative. We've got the lackluster box office, which a lot of people are not calling attention to. I'm going to call attention to it because I think that these two things are related. And then we've got the cluster that was the Creator Summit, where we had a lot of angry D&D influencers taking Wizards to task after the OGL 1.1 debacle, and a lot of people looking at this virtual tabletop, and they're like, yeah, they're basically turning D&D into a mobile app, a shitty app at this point, which is kind of what I've been telling you for, God, a year now, I think. If you listen to what Hasbro has been saying about D&D, to them it is a fantasy brand. They want to get into video games. They want to get into in-app purchases, etc., etc. They want to charge everybody, not just the dungeon masters. Everybody has to pay to play, and that's where they want to take it. And Hasbro is going to Hasbro, and players are revolting. A lot of them are choosing other gaming systems. Pathfinder's exploded. There are other alternatives in the pipeline, such as Adventure Engine at adventureengine.net. This is something we are working on. It is still quite a ways off, and it's definitely not a one-to-one D&D replacement. I want to be clear about that, but for what it is, I think it's going to be pretty fun. And it's going to be a great system for lapsed gamers, people who have maybe never gamed before, something that's very streamlined, very easy to understand, and a hell of a lot of fun. That's what we're going for. We want it to feel like you felt when you played the basic set for the first time back in the day, and everything was fresh and new, and that's what we're going for. If you go to adventureengine.net, you can plug your email in to get notified when we're ready to launch. And it's going to be several months until we're ready to launch, but just letting you know it's coming. So anyway, let's talk about this. We've been talking a lot about role-playing games lately, tabletop gaming, because couple of things. One, Wizards of the Coast keeps blowing themselves up. They keep stepping in it again and again and again. They keep stepping on that rake. And also the tabletop scene has gotten really, really weird. I mean, you think you have a lot of cancel culture going on in comics. It's nothing compared to everything going on in tabletop gaming right now. So we don't know what this weekend is going to look like for D&D. I don't think it's going to be very good. As of, let's see here, the 13th for the single day take, D&D is coming in 5th place behind the Lord of the Rings Return of the King Anniversary re-release, which was a limited release. That's not good. That is not good. And if you look at last weekend, it actually came in 4th place. I thought it came in 3rd. It actually came in behind John Wick and behind Air. And currently where it sits is about the same amount of money worldwide that Shazam 2 has made. It's $128 million worldwide, whereas Shazam 2 is also $128 million worldwide. Yeah, that's not good. That is not good, and Hasbro stock's not good either. I think a lot of people were kind of waiting to see how this movie did and waiting to see how the Creator Summit went, because so much is riding on Wizards of the Coast. Nintendo stock's up, though. Nintendo stock's way up, so that's good. But we'll see what the long-term damage of this is, because this is a movie that they needed to perform. It needed to have legs. Everybody talked about how the first weekend wasn't great, but this movie, it's got to have legs. It's got to be a movie that people come back to again and again and again. And my understanding is that most of the people who wanted to see this movie saw it opening weekend, and that was it. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying the movie's bad. Actually, people said the movie's pretty good. It just didn't have a chance. It came out after John Wick and before Mario, and there are so many other movies coming out, and the general public just doesn't care. And some of the hardcore fans, the D&D fans, are pissed off at Wizards of the Coast right now. This could have something to do with their stock too. They're nabbing the Harley Davidson CFO to double her base salary at Hasbro after they laid off 17% of their workforce. So that's gonna go well. So anyway, let's go out to this article doing damage control, and then we'll talk about the streaming series that they're gonna do. They're gonna double down on this stuff. They've already greenlit it, but streaming, it's not as much of a risk. This is coming from Looper. Why fantasy movies are in a box office rut. D&D debuted to a $37.2 million domestic opening weekend. It was a decent bow that beat out pre-release tracking for the title, but it was still not quite an extraordinary launch for a title that cost over $150 million to make. Considering the widespread raves Honor Among Thieves received in the rampant promotional campaign leading to its premiere, it's shocking that this fantasy title had a slightly lower opening than something as reviled as Morbius. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that bad. This movie had a lower opening weekend than Morbius. But this turn of events is less due to Honor Among Thieves failing to entertain any general moviegoers and more of a reflection of what an unshakable box office rut live-action fantasy movies are in right now. They're trying to say that the reason it didn't do well is there's a deluge of fantasy television. Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power and House of the Dragons and Wheels of Time and Willow. Only one of those shows is good. Of all those 4 shows, Lord of the Rings, House of the Dragons, Wheel of Time, and Willow, only one of those shows is any good. They said these kind of shows are so popular that D&D inspired a TV spinoff before it even hit theaters. We're going to talk about that. Bad fantasy movies have tainted the genre. They're talking about Warcraft. They're talking about Gods of Egypt. They're talking about the BFG, Mortal Engines, the Nutcracker in the Four Realms. Remember that? That Disney thing? That was a thing. And it came and went and nobody remembers. They're blaming Harry Potter, and they're blaming Fantastic Beasts. They're blaming a lack of visual variety. What? Here's the thing. This is ridiculous. D&D is a massive, massive brand with a massive, massive audience. I mean, you look at Critical Role, they did $12 million on Kickstarter for an animated pilot. There is no reason why this movie should have performed as bad as it did, except for the fact that the brand is damaged and they released it during a very, very bad time. Very bad. You don't release a movie like this less than a week before the Super Mario movie, which everybody knew was going to eat everybody's lunch, right? And after John Wick and whatever. I mean, I think Hasbro knew this was going to be a disaster. They threw a bunch of money at it, but they knew. They were selling E1. They're trying to sell E1 before the movie even came out. If they had a lot of faith that this was going to be some gangbusters thing, they would have waited until after the movie came out to try to sell E1. They knew it was going to fail. They did. They did. And they absolutely guaranteed that the movie failed by pulling the shit they pulled with the OGL debacle right before the movie dropped in theaters. I mean, that was colossally stupid. So now they're going to try it again. They're going to try it as a streaming show. D&D series at Paramount Plus adds Drew Crivello as showrunner. This guy, I think, worked on Deadpool. Yeah, he helped develop X-Men First Class and Deadpool during his time as a film executive. Now, this was, again, announced before the movie came out. I have to wonder if they would have jumped the gun like this, But, I do think D&D will do better if it's done well as a streaming series than it did in the theater, right? So they said they wrote the pilot for the series and will direct the first episode. Paramount Plus has given the show an 8-episode order. Did you ever notice that these seasons get shorter and shorter? It's kind of like Halo too. It used to be that we had like 26 episodes per season was standard. And then it went to like 13, then it went to like 20 episodes, and then it went to 13 episodes. And then like a Netflix show's usually about 10 episodes. And now we're down to 8 episodes. So they get 8 episodes. The series is a co-production between E1 and Paramount. And again, E1 is for sale. E1 is serving as the lead studio. So this is going to be his first time running a series solo. He most recently co-created and served as co-showrunner for Apple's We Crashed. Is that the WeWork series? So yeah, it's going to come and go, and I don't think anybody's going to care. I'm going to be honest. I think that there is so much damage that has been done to the D&D brand and to Wizards of the Coast that it's going to be very, very hard to win back gamers, to win back audiences. And it doesn't matter if the show's even good. I think a lot of people, in the case of the D&D movie, I think they just boycotted because they're like, F you, Hasbro. They're very pissed off at Hasbro. And, it is what it is. But I just think it's funny that we went from bragging about how amazingly well this movie did opening weekend, even though it was not great, to making excuses for it within the span of like 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll see where it falls after this weekend. I think it's going to drop out of the top 10 here within another couple of weeks. We got a lot of other movies coming out. I don't know. Gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later. Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.